In the beginning, there was nothing. The earth was empty and dark. Then God decided to create the heavens and the earth. On the first day, God said, "Let there be light," and suddenly light appeared. God saw that the light was good. He separated the light from the darkness, calling the light day and the darkness night. On the second day, God said, "Let there be a sky to separate the waters." He made the sky and placed it above the waters. On the third day, God commanded the waters under the sky to gather in one place so that dry land could appear. He called the dry land earth and the gathered waters seas. Then God said, "Let the earth produce plants and trees." And the earth sprouted with plants and trees bearing seeds and fruits. On the fourth day, God said, "Let there be lights in the sky to separate the day from the night." He made the sun to shine during the day, the moon to light up the night, and the stars. On the fifth day, God said, "Let the waters be filled with living creatures, and let birds fly in the sky." So God created all the sea creatures and every bird, and He saw that it was good. On the sixth day, God said, "Let the land produce living creatures." He made all the animals, from the livestock to the wild animals. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, to rule over the fish, the birds, and all the animals." So God created man and woman in His image and blessed them. On the seventh day, God finished His work and rested. He blessed the seventh day and made it holy because He had completed His creation. This is how the heavens and the earth were created.
In the beginning, the Creator made the heavens and the earth. He created a beautiful garden called Eden. In this garden, He placed the first humans, Adam and Eve. Adam was made from the dust of the ground, and Eve was created from one of Adam's ribs. They were companions and equals. They explored the garden and cared for its creatures. The garden had two special trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The Creator told Adam and Eve they could eat from any tree except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For a while, Adam and Eve lived happily in the garden. They felt no shame and knew no pain. But one day, Eve met a talking serpent near the forbidden tree. The serpent tempted Eve, saying that eating the fruit would make her like the Creator, knowing good and evil. Eve took a bite of the fruit and gave some to Adam, who ate it too. Suddenly, they realized they were naked and felt ashamed. They made clothes from fig leaves and hid when they heard the Creator walking in the garden. The Creator called out to Adam, who admitted he was hiding because he was naked. The Creator asked if they had eaten from the forbidden tree. Adam blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the serpent. The Creator punished the serpent by making it crawl on its belly. He told Eve she would have painful childbirth and that her husband would rule over her. He told Adam the ground would be cursed and he would have to work hard for food until he died. The Creator banished Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden. He placed angels and a flaming sword to guard the way to the tree of life. Adam and Eve left the paradise and faced a harsh world. They worked hard and experienced pain, but also found moments of joy. They had children, and their descendants spread across the earth. The story of Adam and Eve teaches us about the consequences of disobedience and the power of love and redemption. Even though they were banished, the Creator still loved them and guided their descendants with hope and grace. After Adam and Eve were cast out of Eden, they had two sons, Cain and Abel. Cain was a farmer. He grew crops and worked the soil. Abel was a shepherd. He took care of sheep and led them to pastures. One day, they brought offerings to the Lord. Cain brought fruits and grains. Abel brought the firstborn lambs from his flock. The Lord accepted Abel's offering but did not accept Cain's. Cain felt angry and jealous. The Lord asked him why he was upset and warned him about sin. Despite the warning, Cain's anger grew. He asked Abel to go to the field with him. In the field, Cain attacked Abel and killed him. The Lord asked Cain where Abel was. Cain replied, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" The Lord knew what had happened. He told Cain that Abel's blood cried out from the ground. As punishment, the Lord cursed Cain. He would be a restless wanderer, and the ground would no longer yield crops for him. Cain was afraid and said his punishment was too great. The Lord put a mark on Cain so no one would kill him. Cain left and went to the land of Nod, east of Eden. He carried the burden of his brother's death and his own guilt. This story teaches us that uncontrolled jealousy and anger can lead to destructive actions and severe consequences. A long time ago, the world was full of bad people. God was sad, but noticed a good man named Noah. God told Noah to build a big boat called an ark. Noah, his wife, and his 3 sons built the ark. People laughed at Noah, but he trusted God. God told Noah to bring 2 of every animal into the ark. Noah and his family gathered the animals and food. It started raining for 40 days and nights. The whole world was covered with water. Noah, his family, and the animals were safe in the ark. The rain stopped, and the water began to go down. The ark rested on a mountain called Ararat. Noah sent out a dove to see if the land was dry. The dove came back with an olive leaf. Noah knew it was safe to leave the ark. God told Noah to come out with his family and the animals. Noah built an altar and thanked God. God promised never to flood the earth again. He put a rainbow in the sky as a sign of his promise. Noah and his family started their new life on the earth. The story's moral is, faith in God and righteousness will guide you through adversity and lead to new beginnings. A long time ago, after the Great Flood, everyone spoke the same language. They travelled together and found a plain in the land of Shinar. The people decided to build a city with a tower that reached the sky. They said, "This will make us famous and keep us together." They made bricks and used tar for mortar. The tower grew taller and taller. God saw what they were doing and understood their pride. He said, "Let's go down and confuse their language so they won't understand each other." Suddenly, the workers couldn't understand each other's words. Confusion spread everywhere, and they couldn't keep building. The people scattered all over the earth, forming new groups and speaking different languages. The place where they tried to build the tower was called Babel. This story reminds us that pride and challenging God can lead to downfall. It also explains why people speak different languages and live in different places today. Abraham lived in Canaan with his wife Sarah and their son Isaac. Isaac was born to Sarah in her old age. He was the joy of their lives. One day, God called to Abraham, "Abraham." "Here I am," Abraham replied. God said, "Take your son Isaac to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." Abraham was very troubled, but had faith in God. Early the next morning, he prepared for the journey. He took Isaac, 2 servants, and wood for the offering. They travelled for 3 days. On the 3rd day, Abraham saw the place from a distance. He told his servants, "Stay here with the donkey. Isaac and I will go worship and then come back." Abraham placed the wood on Isaac's shoulders and carried the fire and knife himself. As they walked, Isaac asked, "Father, where is the lamb for the offering?" Abraham answered, "God will provide the lamb, my son." When they reached the place, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood. He bound Isaac and laid him on the altar. As he took the knife to slay his son, the angel of the Lord called out, "Abraham, Abraham." "Here I am," he replied. The angel said, "Do not lay a hand on the boy. Now I know you fear God, because you have not withheld your son." Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught in a thicket. He sacrificed the ram instead of Isaac. Abraham called that place, "The Lord will provide." The angel of the Lord called again and said, "Because you have done this and not withheld your son, I will bless you. Your descendants will be as numerous as the stars and the sand. All nations on earth will be blessed because you obeyed me." Abraham and Isaac returned to the servants and went back to Beersheba. Isaac grew up knowing his father's faith and God's provision. This story shows the power of obedience and God's faithfulness. After the test of faith on Mount Moriah, Isaac returned home with his father, Abraham. Abraham was thankful to God for sparing Isaac's life. Years later, Sarah, Isaac's mother, passed away. Isaac was very sad and missed his mother deeply. Abraham wanted to find a good wife for Isaac. He called his trusted servant and said, "Go to my homeland and find a wife for my son, Isaac." The servant traveled far to a city called Nahor. He prayed to God for guidance, asking for a sign to find the right woman. At a well, he met a kind woman named Rebecca. Rebecca offered water to the servant and his camels. The servant knew this was the sign from God. He gave Rebecca gifts and spoke to her family about marriage. Rebecca's family agreed, and Rebecca also agreed to marry Isaac. Rebecca left her home and traveled with the servant to meet Isaac. When Rebecca saw Isaac, she veiled herself. Isaac took Rebecca into his mother Sarah's tent. He married Rebecca, and she became his wife. Isaac loved Rebecca, and she brought him comfort after his mother's death. They lived happily together and had 2 sons, Esau and Jacob. God blessed Isaac and Rebecca, and they built a loving family. This story shows that trusting God's plan and guidance brings blessings and fulfillment. Acts of kindness and love create a strong, supportive family. After Isaac married Rebecca, they lived happily together. God blessed them, but Rebecca couldn't have children for a long time. Isaac prayed to God, and God answered his prayer. Rebecca became pregnant with twins. The baby struggled inside her, and Rebecca asked God why this was happening. God told her, "2 nations are in your womb. One will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When the time came, Rebecca gave birth to 2 boys. The firstborn was red and hairy, and they named him Esau. The second boy was born holding Esau's heel, and they named him Jacob. Esau grew up to be a skilled hunter, and Isaac loved him because he enjoyed the wild game Esau brought home. Jacob was a quiet man who liked to stay at home, and Rebecca loved him. One day, Esau came home very hungry from hunting. Jacob was cooking a stew, and Esau asked for some. Jacob said, "First, sell me your birthright." Esau was so hungry he agreed, saying, "What good is a birthright to me?" Jacob gave him bread and lentil stew, and Esau ate and drank, then went on his way. Esau despised his birthright after that. When Isaac was old and his eyes were weak, he called Esau and said, "Go hunt some wild game and prepare me a tasty meal so I may bless you before I die." Rebecca overheard this and told Jacob. She helped Jacob prepare a meal and put Esau's clothes on him. Rebecca covered Jacob's hands and neck with goat skins so he would feel hairy like Esau. Jacob took the meal to Isaac, and Isaac blessed him, thinking he was Esau. When Esau returned and found out, he was very angry and planned to kill Jacob. Rebecca told Jacob to flee to her brother Laban's house until Esau's anger cooled. Jacob left and began his journey to Laban's house, and this marked the start of many adventures and challenges in his life. After Jacob fled from his brother Esau, he traveled to his uncle Laban's house. On his journey, he had a dream of a ladder reaching to heaven, with angels ascending and descending. God spoke to Jacob in the dream, promising to bless him and his descendants. Jacob continued his journey and arrived at Laban's home. He met Laban's daughter Rachel by a well and fell in love with her. Jacob offered to work for Laban for 7 years in exchange for Rachel's hand in marriage. Laban agreed, and Jacob worked hard for 7 years, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for Rachel. When the time came for the wedding, Laban tricked Jacob. He gave Jacob his older daughter Leah instead of Rachel. Jacob didn't realize the switch until the next morning. He was very upset and confronted Laban. Laban explained that it was not customary to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one. Laban offered Rachel to Jacob as well, if he would work another 7 years. Jacob agreed, and a week later he married Rachel. Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah, and he worked for Laban another 7 years. God saw that Leah was unloved, so he blessed her with children. Leah gave birth to Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Rachel was sad because she could not have children. She gave her maid, Bilhah, to Jacob as a wife, and Bilhah bore him Dan and Naphtali. Leah also gave her maid, Zilpah, to Jacob as a wife, and Zilpah bore him Gad and Asher. Then Leah had more children. Issachar, Zebulun, and a daughter named Dinah. Finally, God remembered Rachel, and she gave birth to Joseph. Later, Rachel gave birth to another son, Benjamin, but she died in childbirth. Jacob loved all his children, but he had a special affection for Joseph, the first son of his beloved Rachel. This special love for Joseph caused tension and jealousy among the brothers. Jacob's family continued to grow, and they faced many challenges and adventures together. Jacob had 12 sons, and Joseph was his favorite. Jacob gave Joseph a special coat of many colors. Joseph's brothers were very jealous of him. Joseph had dreams where his brothers bowed down to him. His brothers hated him even more because of these dreams. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers who were tending the sheep. When Joseph found them, his brothers plotted to kill him. Reuben, the eldest brother, suggested throwing Joseph into a pit instead. The brothers stripped Joseph of his colorful coat and threw him into a pit. Later, they saw a caravan of traders going to Egypt. Judah suggested selling Joseph to the traders instead of killing him. The brothers sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver. They dipped Joseph's coat in goat's blood and took it to their father. Jacob believed a wild animal had killed Joseph and mourned deeply. In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. Joseph served Potiphar well and was put in charge of his household. Potiphar's wife falsely accused Joseph, and he was thrown into prison. In prison, Joseph interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker. The cupbearer was restored to his position, and the baker was executed, just as Joseph had said. 2 years later, Pharaoh had troubling dreams that no one could interpret. The cupbearer remembered Joseph and told Pharaoh about him. Joseph was brought before Pharaoh and interpreted his dreams. He predicted 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine. Pharaoh was impressed and made Joseph the governor of Egypt. Joseph stored grain during the 7 years of abundance. When the famine came, people from all over came to Egypt to buy grain. Joseph's brothers came to Egypt to buy grain, but they did not recognize him. Joseph recognized his brothers, but did not reveal himself immediately. He tested their characters and saw they had changed. Joseph finally revealed his identity and forgave his brothers. He invited his family to live in Egypt to escape the famine. Jacob and his family moved to Egypt and were reunited with Joseph. Joseph's brothers apologized, and Joseph assured them he had forgiven them. Joseph said that what they meant for harm, God used for good. The family lived in Egypt, and God blessed them. This story teaches us that forgiveness and reconciliation can heal deep wounds. What may seem like misfortune can be part of a greater plan for good, trusting God's purpose even in difficult times.
For more videos, please like, comment, and subscribe to the Bible Stories Unfolded channel.